Can we make that more interactive? Now this is something we've all been asked to do at some point, whether by a colleague or a well-meaning stakeholder. It's all too easy to fall into the trap of thinking more interactivity is more better. Yes, we want to create active learning experiences, but interactivity, like everything else in life, is not universally positive, helpful, or even effective. My name's Tom, I'm the Learning Ambassador at Colossyan, and in this video we're exploring the 5 pillars of interaction design, and at the end of the video I'll share some of my top tips to improve your interactions. Let's get into it. The 5 pillars of interaction design give us a framework to ensure every interaction we create adds value to the overall experience. Now the first pillar is goal-driven design. This is all about understanding exactly what you're trying to achieve with your interaction. We've all completed courses with lots of clicks and drags and inputs that just felt a bit pointless. The wall of text, split with a few next buttons, is still a wall of text. This tends to happen when we take content and try and reshape it into a few generic interactions. The good old classics are things like flip cards and accordions and, of course, the click and reveal. Now, none of those interactions are inherently bad, but forcing content into the wrong interaction will always be suboptimal. Before designing anything then, you need to have a clear goal for the interaction. You're asking someone to give their time and energy to interact with it, so it needs to be worth it for them. You should start this process by creating user personas for your intended audiences. This is a handy reference when designing and testing your interactions. Then, create user scenarios. These are stories basically detailing how a person interacts with your content, how they approach completing it, when and where, and how they generally engage with it. Finally, draw an experience map. This means mapping out every step the user takes to access, complete, and action the learning in your intervention. You can use this map to spot potential issues, friction points, and opportunities for improvements. All of these steps keep the goal of the interaction front of mind throughout the design process. Now, next up, we have usability. An unusable interaction is pointless. That's simple enough, but we often create seemingly usable interactions that fail due to something simple being overlooked. We should consider usability in the context of the UUD model. That is, interactions should first be useful, then usable, and then desirable. We have a tendency to think about what's desirable and then work backwards. A good guide is that if you find yourself needing to add instructional text, your interaction may not be usable. So we need to make interactions only as complex as they absolutely need to be in order to be useful. We should always treat desirable as the tertiary priority. The third pillar are affordances and signifiers. The concept of affordances is that an interaction should speak for itself and suggest its own use. Signifiers are the things that hint at the affordance. A really simple example is that a button affords the user the ability to click to progress. The signifiers are the shape and colour and state of the button. This is the reason buttons often change when you hover over them with the cursor. Ensuring you design signifiers that clearly communicate the affordances of the interaction to the user is vital if you want the user to engage meaningfully with your experience. Moving on, let's look at the fourth pillar, learnability. It's a slightly silly word, but bear with me. We all wish people learn to interact with the things we create first time, but in reality, it doesn't happen very often. Tesla's law tells us that there is an immutable level of complexity in every interaction we create. That means that no matter what we do, things can only ever be so simple. Our job here is to ensure that the interactions we design lean on established norms known to our users. I tend to look at popular websites and apps for guidance for this. When we do have to establish something new, look for opportunities to reuse it across all of your work. This will help establish a norm within your course offering. The ultimate goal here is to make the learner engage with your interactions without forcing them to expend cognitive energy figuring out what they're supposed to be doing. The last pillar is feedback and response time. This is about creating a two-way conversation between the learner and the experience. Think about error messages that you might see when using your computer or using certain websites. The user completes an interaction and receives immediate feedback, along with guidance on how to take action. We should be building all of our interactions with this in mind. The learner should never feel lost or uncertain about the completion of an interaction. They should know what they've done, where they are, and what's coming next at all times. And that's it. The 5 pillars. 1. Goal-driven design. 2. Usability. 3. Affordances and signifiers. 4. Learnability, that silly word again. And 5. Feedback and response time. But at the start of the video, I promised you some top tips to improve your interactions. So, here we go. First, role-play your interactions. Grab a few people who have not worked on the project with you and ask them to complete the learning experiences. Observe them, track their progress and reaction, and ask them for feedback. Next up, map the narrative. Make sure you document every step of the course you create and how you want users to interact with it. This gives you something to test against once you launch this to the business. Third, always seek to simplify. Anything you can simplify for your learners is worth doing. Aim to create an effortless interaction so the learner can focus on, well, the learning. Then limit choices. Now this may seem odd, but too much choice can paralyze decision making. So make sure you're offering meaningful options and not padding your interactions for the sake of being more interactive. Finally, pay attention to micro moments. Look for points at which people stall, hesitate, or react in an emotional way to the interactions you create. These are the moments you need to spend more time on redesigning, improving, or enhancing. And that's it. Interactivity is a powerful tool, but it's only effective when you use it correctly. So let me know down in the comments, what are your top tips for designing great learning interactions? If you found this video useful, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe before sharing it with your colleagues, and I will see you in the next video.